What's up, everybody? Welcome to the New State Public Health Resource Fair. My name is Demonte Dismuke. Today we have a whole slew of things planned for you. So what we're gonna do, straight at 1 o'clock, I'll be moderating a public health discussion with some amazing people on our panel, including government officials and more. Shortly thereafter, we'll have our school supply giveaway, so a lot of the different things you need for school, we'll have here for you. After that, please hang out, stick around, listen to some of the most amazing homegrown talent that we have here in Milwaukee. I want to highlight all of our sponsors who were so gracious in making this event possible. In addition to that, a special thanks to SaintA. If you have any concerns for mental health and you want to address and talk to a professional, some high quality mental health, hit us up at the clinic at SaintA.org. Enjoy.
The New State, once known as the Palms, where rock legends like AC/DC graced the stage on their way to stardom, is being redeveloped for the future to create, learn, express, and escape.
My passion is music.
My hopes and dreams are literally to touch as many people as possible with my music.
My goal is to inspire somebody like me in the next generation or generations to come.
A place where all ages are welcome to perform and thrive. A place where hundreds of musicians, producers, and artists will make a name for themselves and for Milwaukee. With the lack of opportunities and spaces, more now than ever, we need your help to secure a better tomorrow for Milwaukee creatives. Please donate or get involved at newstatemke.org. For too long, Milwaukee has been underestimated, a city almost on the verge of something great, something new. The thing is, greatness has always been here. It's in the energy and the joy of our youth.
It really does give you the safe place and the opportunity to get your voice out if you are a young person.
Music in general constantly is always changing my mood and raising my vibrations to higher things.
A space where youth of all ages can create lasting connections, memories, and skills.
When I first saw the new state building, it was really beautiful and I wanted to play a show right away. I was like, get me on that stage right now.
Music and art will empower people to create together, to write their own narrative of Milwaukee and become legends.
People should care because there's a lot of talent in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Eventually you'll see artists rise and you might think, hey, that was the kid that was, handing me CDs on the street, or that was the kid in school that wouldn't shut up about music.
With programming that will foster lasting relationships and skills needed to thrive in music and business, the New State will be an entrepreneurial hub for the city and for the near west side of Milwaukee. Performance spaces, professional recording studios, and a pocket park will return it to its former glory as a cultural staple.
I stand for all things like creatively, and I want to continue to create and show the world, or Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that we can bring opportunity here. We just have to stay on the right path and continue to stay focused.
Milwaukee's on the verge of something great, something new. Get involved, become a friend, help the New State.
Infomercial, who you are and what brought you here to this panel. We'll start off with Attorney Spencer.
I'm Tearman Spencer, the City Attorney of Milwaukee. Hello, I'm Tearman Spencer, the City Attorney of Milwaukee. What brought me here today is the cause and the issues that we're discussing. Near and dear to me as a product of Milwaukee, I'm very concerned about the direction we take and how we make it a lot better for the young folks who are following and the things that they have to encounter. So I'm all in and I'll be all in forever.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Baby Shay, AKA Shannon. I'm here just to, discuss, the issues and and everything going on with the community. I feel like as a young guy myself, I see a lot of things that go on. So I just want to be able to use my voice to impact the world in a positive way. So yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Ken Ginlack, psychotherapist, director of outpatient programs for Milwaukee County. I'm here today to discuss health disparities and equity, something that Milwaukee County has been moving towards and something that I'm working for within the community.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am David Crowley, the Milwaukee County Executive. And what brought me to the table is we're talking about public health, something that we deal with at the county level. We have a Department of Health and Human Services where we serve young people. We serve our aging population. We serve people with disabilities. And so when we think about public health and in the middle of this pandemic, but the other piece of public health that we don't talk about, another pandemic, is racism. And so for us, we're at the table as an organization to really focus on what we can do to really move this community forward.
Thank you.
My name is Shannon Ross, graduate student at UWM, a co-owner of a business, a trucking business, nonprofit I started called The Community that focuses entirely on reentry and correcting the narrative about people with criminal records and the need to change the way the system operates currently. What brought me here is that underneath anything with reentry and the criminal justice system is whole communities, and that's public health. And so we don't get to a place where we actually solve any of these issues if people are not whole and communities are not able to get what they need to move forward in a healthy manner. And also, grateful father to be as well.
Awesome. Congrats.
Hi, my name is Jalil. I go by J Lotto. I'm an artist. And I just wanted to, as being a youth, and I just wanted to, put my insights in. There's a lot of age groups, age ranges, and we all want to make a change. And I think it's good to have these type of discussions. The hard ones are the ones we need to have.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dominee Meek. I am here representing WAJ, which is the Wisconsin Alliance of Youth Justice, Expo, Ex-Incarcerated Persons Organizing, and also ICANN, which is the Incarcerated Children Advocacy Network. I have different roles in each of them. Reason I am here, though, is because I was incarcerated as a juvenile. And so, as was mentioned, public health plays a part in that. And anything I can do to help move that conversation forward, and more importantly, change conversation to action so that we can prevent other juveniles from going through what I went through, I'm going to do to help that happen.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rahenio Boynes. Most people know me as Ray Nitti, artist, entrepreneur. Had a song in the city that was called Bowed. It did pretty good. I was able to tour, and now I'm using my influence in the city to help develop platforms and spaces to help retain our homegrown talent. Right now, I'm one of the 3 partners on the Community Within the Corridor, which will have the Creative Corridor. The Community Within the Corridor is the largest affordable housing project in state history that's private owned, and it's owned by 3 black men, so I'm proud to be a part of that cohort. And yeah, we just want to create, I'm here to figure out how we could connect dots and figure out different ways to help change the narrative and what has become normal for our inner city of Milwaukee. So that's what we're hoping to do with the Creative Corridor, bring a bunch of resources and access to the city.
Thank you. So as you can see, we have a lot of different people from different walks of life, and that's very intentional. But we're just gonna get to the heart of it. Let's just get right to it. So with all these different experiences, what would you see as the greatest barrier right now in public health for children and families here in Milwaukee? So anybody can kick us off, and whenever you have something to speak, respect the mic, and then we'll go to the next person with the next opinion.
Like everything, I think what is the center ground of all problems that we can connect a nexus to is economics. So when we look at money or the lack thereof, it would be closely associated with the problems that we are discussing now. When we talk about health issues and mental health, and we look at the paradigm in which we're faced with today, that is indicative of the money and the resources that were not available in the programs implemented during that time. We are where we are now, And I think we have to embrace and understand the issues that we are confronting and then find a way to deal with it, infusing the economics to make sure that we have programs aligned that will, in essence, allow us to marginalize a problem or come in control of it, so that then we can start to break some of those barriers down that we're faced with now that has a great impact on the youth, has a great impact on the criminal justice system that trickles into pretty much everything that we do. So I think when we first talk about this issue, we talk about an understanding and identifying that economic element that goes with that. And from there, then we can start dissecting the factors that go into some of the problems that we see, how it trickles down to young folks and in education and not having the access, or their parents not having the resources for them to be able to traverse those issues that they have to confront when they go to class. Likewise, when our system encounters someone with an obvious mental health problem and misconstrue that and misdiagnose that and put them in a place that they don't belong. So all of these issues and concerns come together. So with this panel that we have, I'm sure we have enough expertise here to start identifying them. And once we do that, let's start looking at the possible solutions that we can start addressing to remove some of those barriers. How about that, baby?
Appreciate that.
I mean, you really just hit it right on the head. I mean, we just got to be able to create more chances for the youth to express and express their creativity and give them a chance just to make it out here. It's a lot of people trying to do the same thing, and we just got to be able to, as a community and as a city, just rally around that, because again, Milwaukee is a very small city, but as you can see with the Bucks winning and everything going on, like we coming up, and I just feel like in order to really maximize our opportunity as a community, we just need to be able to give the youth more chances to be able to show what they can do, because I feel like if that spotlight is really put on Milwaukee youth, it'll shine and we'll all shine. So yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, it's a lot. As Attorney Spencer mentioned, social economics and Milwaukee, the way that it's structured, from an economic standpoint, it's the most segregated city in the United States, one of the most segregated cities, and it's structured by economics, right? And so when we start to look at breaking down health disparities and looking within the neighborhoods, we really need to create a space where individuals have access, not only access to services, treatment when it comes to mental health, but also funds and funding. And so that's one of the biggest things that I think we need to accomplish, or come up with a way where we can offer opportunities for individuals that's in the community. And so in the neighborhoods that's struggling. And so it's very apparent when we look at different zip codes and the health disparities within those zip codes, it shows. And so one of my biggest things is trying to make sure that individuals have access to services, right? And so when it comes to mental health and substance use disorder, that's what I fight for, and that, trying to break those barriers. And I'll stop right there, because I could go on.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
I don't know if anybody, I'm gonna just jump in. So it's like, when you mention barriers, I mean, there's so many, right? Just being a black man growing up in the city of Milwaukee, where we rank at the top of many of the worst lists across this country, right?
Yes.
I mean, literally, this state is the worst place to raise a black child. And so when you talk about barriers, we also gotta think about the history of Milwaukee, that it was literally built on segregation. And so being at the county, we realized that a lot of this has been ingrained in our laws and our policies. So we, have to take a look within our laws and policies to see if we're serving the people well. But at the same time, as much as we want to serve the people well, we got to make sure that we can actually invest in people. And I think one of the biggest issues that we have seen in places like the city of Milwaukee and Milwaukee County, and I think it's in a lot of cities where you have majority people of color in, is that you have to start from a deficit place. You're always starting from cutting somewhere, rather than being in a position to actually invest in communities. And so You know, the biggest barrier is the social determinants of health that we have to invest in. When we think about our environment, when we think about education, economics, so on and so forth, we have to be able to be put in a position to actually invest in the people that make up this community.
Absolutely. And while you're passing the mic, I'll just say, like, one of the things that I do for the program that I manage for you, it's pretty much based on social determinants of health. We call it our 5 pillars of stability, but it talks about all the different things that everybody's talking about so far, and I want to hear some additional barriers, but those different things are housing, health, education, employment, and then when it comes to caring connections, who do you got in your corner? So I'm excited to kind of keep hearing that, but I wanted to acknowledge what you guys have said thus far.
Yeah, it's interesting you touched on the housing component. For me, the two that stand out are a structural one is housing. And I become aware, I guess, kind of recently talking to like Impact 211 and some of the, unsheltered communities about how the Housing First movement really became popular because they started to show that by not investing in people when they are homeless, you're investing more in them. You're basically paying more to hide away from a problem. And so we can pay less to solve a problem. So why don't we do that? It's a very simple equation. And the basic construct is you have to get people who oftentimes vote against or don't have an interest in housing people that they feel are causing their own problems or are not a race or other class that connects to them to see that they're actually creating more of a problem for their own community, even though it seems like it's far away. And so that kind of comes down to the narrative issue. How do we message this? How do we message not only to other communities that have a power over, unfortunately, the resources we do get, how do we message it in ourselves? A lot of times within the community, we tell ourselves and our children these narratives and these stories that make them see themselves as inferior as well. So it's a lot of it just ties down to at the the meta level of what are we telling ourselves, what do we believe ourselves, are we seeing the reality of the empowerment we do have and the potential we do have, and then are we messaging that to other communities as well so that they see that we are worth investing in, we are worth being equal to everyone else. And so those kind of two with housing first, I think is a very simple one at structural level. But then the narrative is a very, very important one that, oftentimes is just hiding there so powerfully underneath all of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, going off of what everybody said, economically, us as a city, we are definitely struggling. And I feel like one thing we need to work on, like he said, investing in people, investing in local people that are trying to make change. There's a lot of people up here that have businesses, organizations, and a lot of times we fail to pay attention to that and bring awareness to it. There's so many people in the city that probably don't even know what's available to them. And I feel like we get so drawn into social media, what celebrities are doing, sports, instead of putting our time and effort into what really matters, which is us, which is everything we do. And I think we need to bring awareness and light to these organizations that are really trying to help police reform, healthcare, education, all that. Growing up, I feel like the one thing that held me back was not knowing what I had available to me. So I think we need to shed some light on that too.
Absolutely.
I agree with everything that's been said. Only to that I would add or emphasize the mental health component. Trauma-informed care and of growing up black and brown in Milwaukee, in this country, period, is traumatic.
Yes.
And hurt people, as they say, hurt people. You know what I'm saying? And we experience so many traumas in the hoods and things we grow up in that we lose the hope, and we strike out with anger and fear and things of that nature. So if we could, as a community, but as black and brown communities, but also in the wider community in this state in particular, or in this city and county in particular, start changing the way we focus on the problems that juveniles in particular are facing and look at it from a mental health perspective. And economics does play a large part in that. But if we could change our focus to that and not look at it as a criminal justice issue first, then I think a lot of things will start to change. You know what I'm saying? So moving the problem with juveniles from the criminal justice system back into maybe to the health and human services, where it used to be a long time ago, would be a good place to start as well, because their focus is different. So, yeah, that's what I think is a big barrier, and if we get that, it would change a lot.
Thank you.
I agree with everything everybody said up here. The mental health component is very important. Educational component is very important. The criminal justice component is very important. I agree a lot with what Brother Jay Lotta said. Just being aware, like that's a huge barrier. We don't know what's out there for us, and because everybody says so much dope things, I don't want to reiterate everything that's being said, but to add on the mental health component, what I will say is we need representation in the field of people that look like us. Like conversations aren't normal in our communities about like mental health, therapy, trauma, talking about our issues as Black men. And also I think like, this is just my personal opinion, we need to push more Black women in the forefront, and I feel like that'll help alleviate and bring that nurture back to some of these things that we have. No disrespect, I don't see no women on the panel, so I just feel like we should always have women representation at the forefront. Let Black women lead and everything will be all right. That's my motto.
Absolutely, thank you. And another thing Jay Lotto mentioned about like not knowing. So one of the things that I try to do with my program is push as many resources as possible. So like, for example, one of the things that we're pushing out into the community right now, there was something passed for youth that aged out of foster care from January 27th up until now. If you aged out last week, there are funds set aside for youth that aged out within this time frame. Literally, there is $6,000 available for any youth that aged out between January 27, 2020 to today. So that's something, if you have any questions about that, if you know any youth that aged out, like definitely let me know, because I'm actually overseeing that, and to your point, getting the resources into people's hands. So thank you so much for that. And then like, so what I'll do to kind of add on to that, right? So we have some people, we have amazing organizations, we have people in public office. So like with having people in public office that are here advocating for us and for what would you like to see? What would you like to tell folks that actually are at tables making these decisions? What would you guys like to tell, especially the youth and the different stories that you guys bring, something that maybe needs to be said in that room when we're not in there? So what would you guys say to our officials here today? And anybody can start.
To the officials in here today, I would say look at the not so usual suspects that are doing great work in the city, that are not getting the resources that the usual suspects do, because I think they're hitting a non-traditional demographic that is often not reached. And just look at all these different organizations, like I said, that are creating spaces. Not to shamelessly plug what we're doing over at the Creative Corridor, but
no, please do.
We've started a Black clinician. We have a cohort of Black clinicians, so we could have these therapy sessions for the 200 plus families that will be in the corridor and the creatives that will be occupying the corridor. So I would encourage our officials to invest in organizations, not just financially, but manpower as well, because so much of, in my opinion, of what's changing the neighborhood is actually going out and touching it and helping the people and spreading a little bit of love. That's what I'll say.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ray Nitti is so right, and so being that I'm a psychotherapist, a Black man that's a psychotherapist, is very rare in the city of Milwaukee. I think it's maybe 5 or 6 of us that I know, and we in a circle, and that's a very small number. And so when it comes to providing services, a lot of times the youth don't see individuals that look like them. And so that's very important. And so one of the things that I try to do, I don't change up. Right, and so even when I present myself, I have degrees and all that, but at the same time, I'm gonna present myself in a way that you're gonna understand me, right? And so we don't have enough of that. And then when we changing the narrative of Black men, we are nurturing, right? And so being a licensed clinical social worker, we don't see a lot of social workers that's Black men. And so that's something that a goal of mine is to continue to change that narrative and be one of the few people in Milwaukee that continues to reach out. And for the elected officials, again, to kind of piggyback off of Ray is, you know, it's a lot of grassroots organizations out here, boots on the ground, that are touching neighborhoods and doing a lot of work, but do not get recognized or the funding for the work that they're doing. And so I would be remiss if I don't speak on Milwaukee County as well. One of the barriers that we tried to eliminate by collecting data is that individuals that went out to Watertown Plank Road for services, we actually moved the clinics inside the neighborhoods. And so we have a mental health clinic, Milwaukee County has a mental health clinic embedded within 16th Street Clinic. And we also have, Milwaukee County also has an access clinic within Outreach Community Health Center. And so I'm overseeing both of those clinics. I oversee quite a few programs. I believe I'm the first black man to have that position that I have now within Milwaukee County BHD. And so one of my things, you know, as we move into the community, I'm looking to make sure that we have providers that look like the individuals within the community. And so, you know, I'm also working on MHSI, and so we have, you know, construction should be starting real soon where we can get a behavioral health clinic within MHSI on 82nd and Silver Spring. And so that's the push that I, you know, continue to work on, right? So we can have individuals that look like us providing these services, and statistics say that we have better outcomes when we come to an individual that look like us.
Absolutely.
So thanks, Ray.
If I may address that, I don't want to take up the mic. I got to run pretty soon, being overcommitted. But what I want to do and bring attention to the question that was just addressed, and I mean, no disrespect to the prior administrations, but what I want you to look at and realize is upon this stage, and you heard our young county exec, he talked about that issue, that 600-pound gorilla that we never talk about, and that's race. We don't have an angry black man here. We have a young man that faces the issues head on, and he brings it to us. If we don't discuss what the problem is, we can't resolve the problems. Now, historically, we've never had what we have here for elected officials. So now with respect to having that, the young man have to have time to realize who's on the street, who's on the block, so he can then start channeling things to those organizations. But for him to sit up here and talk about that gorilla and talk about what we have to do to deal with these issues, hey, those are strides that we haven't heard in 164 years. So now that we have it, give him time, give him an opportunity, and just don't put it upon him for this term. Give him the same kind of latitude that we give others, and make sure he's reelected to make sure he can keep his program when he started, so that those changes we talk about happens. And I don't have to say you hold him accountable, because the young man is going to be held accountable. He wouldn't be here if he wasn't. Likewise for me. So let's address the issues. Let's talk about the issues, not just being in position, but we stand up on it, with not just to be seen, but to be heard. And as we're doing what we're doing now, I see progress. I see great progress. I look among the stage here, and I'm super impressed, because I don't think this would have been able to take place with me last year or the year before. So I'm very hopeful. Not only am I hopeful, I'm going to do all that I can, and any of you that know me, I don't bend. I don't change the tone. So the narrative is going to be there. And this young man here, unequivocally, my county exec, I vote for. So get behind him.
I heard that.
All that we talk about.
Thank
Elected
you.
officials, we got some now. Let's just hold the others accountable. Same direction that we move in. And with that being said, I got to go. Sorry.
Thank you, Attorney Spencer. Give it up for Attorney Spencer. Appreciate you, sir. Any other thoughts or things like that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to just add something I wanted to add with everybody. What everybody said. I think one thing that I would ask government official, anybody on that board, is just kind of inclusiveness. You don't know what's going on unless you're there. So I would look to you. I would look to anybody else, especially being black, to ask others, different races, sexes, anything, just to go out and see what's going on so that you know what needs to be done. You don't know what needs to be done unless you're there. And I think that's what we need, is just, whether it's just talking to people, having a circle around that's going out to do it, anything, just knowing what the community needs and just trying to help.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on one. I incredibly agree with what you were saying, right, Nitti, about the boots on the ground organizations not getting a lot of support. It can be very difficult running a nonprofit, trying to get support and funding when so many larger nonprofits are getting all the attention, the same old same. And so it's kind of like the R&D for the nonprofit world is incredibly small, whereas a larger company they can just try, pick an area to experiment on for years and have the money for it. But as a nonprofit, you just gotta, I almost have to fundraise more than I have to do the work. So it's like, what am I doing? But that's neither here nor there to a degree. That's kind of my struggling ways. But at the same time, it touches on exactly what you were saying. And I think what I've discovered since I got out, and I didn't mention this, but like Dominee, I spent a lot of time in prison. And when you get into the details and the dirty work of actually changing stuff, it ain't easy. Like we sit back a lot of times and criticize people in government positions, and that's I do not envy your job. but we need good people there. And the only thing I can say, you can't really tell somebody what they should do. But what I can say for just a general principle is, anytime the thought of will it get me elected versus will it get us to the outcome, that's like the one thing. Like always lean towards the outcome over will it get me reelected, because I think that's how you stay on the positive path. And sometimes you might take a hit, but that's going to keep you motivated and pure and actually get closer to the solution rather than keep playing the same game over and over again. So that's my only comment I would make.
Awesome. Another thing too that I see is
Can I say something since I'm only elected up here now?
You are officially on the hot seat. Go for it.
So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to Attorney Spencer for his kind words. But I guess what I would put out there is what I would need in order to help make some of those changes that we're talking about here, right? And one is always accountability. I don't want to talk about anything that I'm not going to follow through on. And so if you hear me talk about it, hold me accountable. But I think the second thing is that we have to understand how government works, particularly in Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee, Milwaukee County. And so when it comes down to us making the investments that we want to make, and many of you probably hear me talk about this, is that we're not getting the dollars that we need to be getting from the state of Wisconsin. Okay, so we send more money to the state of Wisconsin all the time, and we're getting less and less back. And at the end of the day, until we have the ability to invest our local dollars into our local priorities, we're going to continue to see this cycle. So just think about it. I think Baby Shay. Okay, I was about to say Baby Shaq. So you mentioned, the Bucks being here, right? And when you think about the economic activity that happened right here downtown or across this county, a lot of people got outside the house, spent a lot of money, and I know I did, right? And so, but when you think about all those dollars that was spent, we don't get to keep that money here. So those that come here and spend money and go to a Brewers game and go to a Bucks game while they drive all the way down here, and they ride on our roads, they're not contributing to our roads. They're not contributing to our mental health. They're not contributing to our public safety. And so we have to have the ability to be able to keep the money that we make in our own communities. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see our dollars leave this community and be funded by other folks who make more of the decisions about the city and the county than we have the ability to because of our antiquated tax laws that we have on the books.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the passion. What I was saying is what we have here, what I like is a lot of brave people making a lot of brave decisions. And
Just one question from the crowd. How can we help that initiative?
So a follow-up question from the crowd is how can we help, like you said, keeping those dollars here?
Keeping those dollars here. So, we've been working on this. Visit myvote.wi.gov. You can find who your legislator is, your state representative or your state senator, and give them a call. Give them a call. We want to be able to have a piece of legislation literally within the next month to be able to circle around and,
Okay.
and say that this is what's going to help us, right? And at the end of the day, I will say that, we are focusing on Milwaukee County. This is an issue that directly affects us because of the size that we are. We are the largest and most diverse county in the state. But this is an issue that affects communities all across this state. You get what I'm saying? And if you think about it with some of the just preliminary numbers that we've got from the census, this state is changing demographically. And so we want to be a leader, and we want to work with other municipalities on how they can get the funding that they need, particularly when you have more communities of color moving in areas that we know that they're not prepared to serve.
Thank you. Thanks for the question as well. So, but I wanted to highlight the different brave decisions that it's happening. Like, Nitti, you mentioned your organization. You talked about what you're doing as a psychotherapist. We have young artists up here that are like, I put it in my music, but I walk the talk. So that's something I wanted to, just really highlight and just thank everybody for being up here for. But as we heard these different things from everybody, what's one thing that you can take away from listening to all these different folks here, something that you can take away and you'll make a commitment to do in your journey?
Well, I'll start. I think just that integration, making sure that the information that I learned from here and that going forward is brought out, whether it's through music or whether it's just through, getting local information about community events and things like that. I just feel like we all got to be able to share the knowledge and really spread the culture around, because the culture is so important, especially in a city like Milwaukee, where, we got people like this who are really out here trying to make a change for people. But again, through multiple things, people, their message might be, swept under the rug. We got to make sure that message is shown and that message is brought out, and that people are really just aware of what's really going on in this city. Because again, I just feel like everybody's so caught up in things that don't necessarily really matter, when this is gonna be, the springboard to change and the springboard to, better living and, just overall just a better Milwaukee. And that's all that we can really, we can really do out here, is just try to each day, just whether it's through music or whether it's through, these community assets, just hope for a better Milwaukee at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm going to take a couple things away from today. The first thing is, it's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of work to do. And so just listening to everybody, and I know that this is not long enough to even scratch the surface of the solution, right? But I feel like I met a bunch of great guys today, right, that's all working on the same page to move forward. And so, as I continue on my journey, I would like to continue to network and work with other individuals doing different things, right? So we all from different backgrounds, we got different projects going. So collaboration, how do we collaborate? And even from a career standpoint, how do I get Milwaukee County involved in BHD and what we can do? Also the Black Clinicians Network that I'm a part of, and just continuing to push forward. So, the collaboration piece is something that I'm gonna take away from here, and just continue to seek answers, seek ways that we can become more productive, and also the greatness that's upon us on this stage today, I'm gonna take that with me as well, because I love to see Black men get together and have a conversation about change, right? And again, it changes the narrative of different perspectives of what people may see on the news or, outside their door. But it's a lot of great Black men in Milwaukee, and so I'm gonna continue to push to be one of those great men.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm taking it all. I'm taking everything that just happened. There was a lot of jewels that were dropped, and I think one of the things that I think Ray hit on is really thinking outside the box, right? And we get taught to think inside the box a lot of the times, but really have to step outside of our comfort zone And I try to do that, but I'm learning that I have to do it even more to get more people involved in this movement. But I would also say that we, as a county with all the things that we do, we have to do a better job really telling our story to those who absolutely have no clue what we do. And I think that's what we really need to be focusing on, because so many people, when you think about the past, almost 2 years now with this pandemic, I mean, so many people have been isolated. They've only been thinking about how they can keep food on their table, keep a roof over their head, get their kids to school, and still keep themselves safe and healthy. And as much as you're on TV or, using social media, you're not reaching everybody. And so we have to step outside our comfort zone and really focus on grassroots. And those are the people who don't necessarily have LLCs or nonprofits, right? Because, they're just not in that position. But we just have to step outside our comfort zone and really bring more people into the fold. And we got to get creative on how we message that.
Thank you.
I think two things stand out for me. One is I did not know that we don't get any of the money from the Bucks when they was sitting there like, what the hell? So that's one. Other one is I'm a collaboration addict. I don't think we get to the sunny place alone ever. We either go there together or we don't get there ever. And a lot of things up here today are fantastic examples that combat the narratives. I mean, I love when I see young black men combating that Milwaukee narrative. Like, that's fantastic. And then, the small circle you said of black men that are in that mental health field at that level, like I want to be able to spread that message and tell people about that. And as well as I want to know more about the corridor as well. I remember reading about it, but I don't know enough about it. So I definitely want to, connect with everybody up here so I can make sure I tell those stories adequately in places where they need to be heard as well. So that's kind of what I took away from it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really just want to thank everybody. One thing I'm taking away from this is a lot of people up here I've never met before. And one thing I need to do is just be informed and just stay informed and keep track of what's going on in the city that honestly I failed to do before this moment. So I just want to keep myself informed and help out when I can.
Appreciate it.
So a couple things is for me as well. And one is, like the brother said, to be informed. When you're in prison, getting news, you only get what you see on TV, you know what I'm saying? And the library is pretty outdated. You get the Milwaukee Journal a couple days after it's been printed most of the time. So now that I'm out, now that we're out, staying informed and being better informed, being better educated, because in prison we think a lot, but we don't necessarily have the facts to back up our thoughts and our opinions. So doing that. Secondly, as was mentioned, collaborating, but also informing others in my community, right in my neighborhood, of what's going on and soliciting their help, going back to the grassroots, as you mentioned, is a big point. And then thirdly, as you mentioned, holding our elected officials accountable is something I'm going to be big on. Calling and writing letters, emails, and maybe coming down to visit, say, hey, things of this nature, and getting other people to do it as well, though. I work to keep kids from coming to prison, and it ain't gonna happen unless we're out there where they're at, And so I hope to see everybody up here out there where they're at with me, and I hope to be with y'all in the field y'all in as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
What I took away for me personally is as much as I thought I was, I need to be even more intentional about my actions and collaborations. A friend of mine, Xavier Hunter, sent me your video. He sent me a video where you was going through the community, just talking about your story, trying to help people. And he was like, yo, you need to connect with this dude named Shannon for the corridor. This was like 4 years ago. You feel what I'm saying? We've been working on this for 8+ years. So 4 years ago, it's like, I need to be more intentional with my follow-up. You know what I mean? Like, okay, he said that to me, and because I get so caught up in the work and we want to get to our end result, we don't take time to slow down and look at what the universe is putting around us, people that we're praying for to come into our lives. Sir. And I'm sorry, I'm preaching a little bit.
Talk that talk, go ahead.
We be asking for all of these things, and then it's delivered to us, and then because we get so caught up in what we doing, we don't realize we slipping. And then I want to do a better job at showing love and like elevating those who have been doing the work. Like, it's people on 36 and in that area, 32nd and Center, who's been doing work way before 8 years ago when we wanted to put that over there. Miss Marjani House, Metcalf Park, Sherman Park Community. So how can I use my influence and my platform to elevate the works that they're already doing, that Shannon is already doing? Because at the end of the day, I think we all have the same common goal, and the same common goal is to shift the culture and the mindset of our people. So that's what I want to take away, do a better job at.
Absolutely. So like the one thing I'll say is that I'll take away is a lot of gratitude, because like you said, everybody's out here working so hard. You know, you grind, you're doing your thing, but the one big thing I can say, anytime I can get into a meeting or somewhere I can get somebody to listen, it doesn't matter if you're doing marvelous work by yourself, but then when you reach out, so I guess the gratitude that I'm taking away is like, yo, when you have one of those tough days, I'm gonna remember today like, yo, it's a whole lot of other people. It's people out in the crowd right now that also are doing their thing to try to make Milwaukee a better place. So what I'll take away from today is like, I was able to sit here and have some great conversations, and I'm not alone. We out here doing the work, and as you mentioned, we gonna collab. So with that being said, you got one more thing you wanna say?
I want to say one thing.
Please do.
You was grinding so hard on the corridor that 4 years was 9 months. We just did a video in December.
Appreciate the honesty. That's real though, that's real.
Pandemic time.
Right.
I know you said it to me like a while ago. He said it's
Pandemic time. So, special thanks to everybody attending. I really appreciate it. And what we're going to be diving into next, if you got your tickets, we will have this school supply giveaway. It's going to be some live music, and it's going to be some amazing artists. I believe some people that might look familiar. They'll also be hitting the stage a little bit later.
Yes, sir.
So again, special thanks to all of our sponsors, everybody in attendance. And yeah, let's just keep the conversation going. This is just a start, y'all. Appreciate it. Peace.
And before we end, I just want to say a couple of words. My name is Demonte. I represent part of the new state, a great development in the near west side that's going to be a music hub for all ages. So first of all, I want to thank all of you for attending. This has been a great conversation. Through this journey of putting this event together, I discovered and communicated and connected with a lot of great organizations, people. I just want to shout out a few of them, such as Aurora Healthcare, 88.9 Radio Milwaukee, Wisconsin Voices, No Studios, Neverland Productions, Near West Side Partners. Us, the New State, which is represented by West Side Arts Unlimited. We're also a nonprofit that's working on this redevelopment. So as we all continue to come together and work together, all of our efforts are difficult and they take resources. So if you are able to, please spread the word about the New State and West Side Arts Unlimited. Donate when you can, and if you can, by going to newstatemke.org. Tell your friends about it. We're working really hard to continue this type of movement to bring people together. And as this is a public resource health fair, on this table behind us, you will see not only school supplies that we're giving away, and all the leftovers will go to MPS to be distributed, but we're also highlighting organizations that we've connected with. To name a few are Teens Grow Greens, Peak Initiative, the community. I mean, all of these resources, or all of these organizations have resources for youth or families to reach out to. Aurora Healthcare gave us a bunch of websites, hotline numbers that we're also printing out and have prints over there. Please take them. There's a lot of great programming available for your kids and other resources when you are having hard times to reach out to and gain something and get some help from the city and the community. They're out there, they're just hard to find. Like I think somebody said, sometimes you aren't even aware of what's there. So my goal is to continue to bring those resources into one place. We'll be posting them online digitally also, these pamphlets we created with the resources and the friends we've built to date. But as that list grows, we'll continue to put them out there for everybody to hopefully go to one place and realize, oh wow, my child can go participate in The Hobbit, a theater organization, Milwaukee Youth Theater this fall. Or a Peak Initiative does camps where they go to lakes, and New State where we're working on developing young leaders. So a lot's out there. It's just knowing where to look. Absolutely. And so all of us will continue to to divulge that information, and hopefully as we unite, that information will be easily accessible and readily available for Milwaukee.
Appreciate it, Damon.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot. All right, let's have some fun. There's music and food outside.
Yes, sir.